Good evening, South Windsor. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the South Windsor Town Council regular meeting of Monday, December 5th at 7, I don't know the time, NASA, what is it? 7:02. I apologize for being 2 minutes late. I needed to take care of some town business here first. So could we get a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councillor Evans?
Here.
Councillor Kabaski?
Here.
Councillor Lopez?
Here.
Councillor Paterna?
Here.
Mayor Pendleton?
Present.
Deputy Mayor King?
Here.
Councillor Kozakowski?
Here.
Councillor Leidecker? Councillor Gamble?
Here.
Thank you. A couple of remarks for the mayor's remarks this evening, and that is the 5th, which is today, is the International Volunteers Day. And I would like to thank everyone in our community that has volunteered for our town in one way or another, being on a board, commission, committee, or on a civic group, or at our libraries, or at Wood Library, or Historical Society, any of those groups, any of the volunteers, including the town council that is sitting here, because they have volunteered to become elected officials. So I'd like to say thank you and to announce today is Volunteer Day. So if you know volunteer, please thank them. I would also like to mention Pearl Harbor on the 7th, and our hearts and prayers go to those families that are affected by Pearl Harbor and the tragedy that are experienced there, and those veterans will never be forgotten. I would also like to, that it's Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day on the 7th. I would also like to mention that Hanukkah is 18 to the 26th, and happy Hanukkah, everyone. And I'd also like to mention happy Kwanzaa to everyone, which is the 26th of December. I'd also like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Town Council to the citizens and businesses of South Windsor and the residents. And I would also like to mention, are you ready? Big announcement. You ready? Mrs. Claus is a friend of the mayor's. And Mrs. Claus is visiting the mayor's house on Saturday, December 10th from 5 to 9. And it will be a drive on by, drop off some food for the food and fuel bank. And there will be a few surprises there, said one of them being our lit up fire truck. So it's a very festive evening to drop by, bring some food for donation, and Mrs. Claus will be out there waving to everyone. And please don't get out of your cars, just make it a drive-by. Look at the location. Oh, that would be a good thing, right? That is at 319 Hilton Drive from 5 to 9. And I welcome anyone from the council to join Mrs. Claus to help gather some food that folks are bringing. That day also is the day during the day that the fire department and the police department are having a food drive at our local grocery stores, where the fire truck will be there also for our food and fuel bank. But if you happen to miss it during the day, you're more than welcome to come that evening to drive by the mayor's house. And thank you for the help of the volunteers who may be there to help gather food. I appreciate it. And I believe, oh, one more thing I want to read. Okay. Of recent, we've done many appointments to boards, commissions, and committees, mostly of boards and commissions. And I would like to read this one section for everyone to keep in mind that would like to volunteer, please. And that is section 502 of our charter, appointments of boards. The council may remove any member of a board, commission, or committee appointed by it if such member has absented himself from all meetings of his board, commission, or committee for a period of 3 consecutive months. So I just wanted to put that out there for all the folks that are being appointed or anyone that may be interested in going on a board or commission. The council does have the authority to remove someone if they miss 3 meetings. However, we encourage all our volunteers to attend as many meetings as possible without missing them, of course. So just to be aware of that. And I am done with my mayor's remarks, and I thank everyone for listening. Moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Counselor Paterno, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda as presented tonight.
Deputy Mayor King?
Yes, thank you through you, Madam Mayor. Before we adopt the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove 11B11.
To remove 11B11. Thank you.
Yes.
And is there a second on removal of 11B11?
Second.
All those in, any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. I would also, anything else, Deputy Mayor King?
Yes, on the back of page 10, I'd like to move, to add actually 13D. We have 13A, B, and C. Need a 13D to appoint someone, so we have a resolution for that.
Absolutely. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, what is it we're adding?
It's 11D for an appointment.
Yes, 11D, page 10 of 10. It's right on the back before we,
Under new business, it's for an appointment.
I apologize.
No worries. And there's a second. Is there any other questions or comments? Not hearing any? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'm just unclear about the item 11, taking that appointment off the agenda. Is there an explanation so we can make sure people understand why?
Okay,
Yes.
sure. We
So-
can, go ahead.
Yeah, so the reason that I'm asking for that is because this appointment was made, I believe, if I remember correctly, this position is appointed by the town manager,
Correct.
and so it's not something that either party can actually nominate.
Okay, thank you.
Could I
And
make
so
Madam Mayor, could we just make a quick recommendation to say whom is being appointed to that position? Because I think your agenda would need to reflect that.
That would
Say
be
that again?
Seal
So it should
Decker.
be a resolution to make an appointment of,
Bring it, this resolution.
Oh, yes, 13D. I was still working on 11D.
sorry,
No, it's fine.
yeah.
So for 13D, yes, the resolution is that the South Windsor Town Council reappoints Mr. Decker to the redevelopment agency for a term ending December 31st, 2026. We have it on our.
There you go.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
It just needs to be clear. So.
Nope,
Okay.
thank you so much.
And that's Seal Decker, and she's a lady, Cecile, but
I
they call her Seal,
apologize.
no worries. Is there any other questions or comments or discussion on that?
No.
Erica?
Not that,
Not that.
something else.
Anything else?
Yes, I'd like to ask to amend.
Oh, let me take a motion,
Something else.
on that first, I guess, right?
Yep.
All those in favor?
That's fine.
Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any? Go ahead, Erica. Counselor Evans.
13B, I'd like to change the word adopting to amending. So it should read discussion amending the ordinance for the Social Justice Racial Equity Commission.
Amending instead of
Amending.
adopting.
Instead of adopting.
Is there a second on that? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. So now the motion is on the floor to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there a second? I'm sorry, Counselor Kabowski.
Just a quick question. I'm trying to understand. So 11 is coming out because it's a reappointing of a member of the redevelopment agency, and that position is appointed by the town manager. But 13D is the same item, but we're inserting.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, I'm a little confused
Because
on
we
that one.
can't appoint someone while they're still sitting in the position. His term has to expire before he can be reappointed.
Okay, thank you.
So at the next meeting in January, he will be expired, and so the first meeting in January, he will come back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's just a timing thing. Okay? He will be taken care of in January. Everybody good? All those in favor of the amended agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Moving on to communications and reports from the town manager, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Under our budget policy statement, annually the town council puts together a budget policy statement that provides staff and myself with some guidance as we draft the next year's budget. I wanted to remind the council that we are in need of this statement done by the end of December so that staff can use it to inform decisions as the budget is being formulated. Moving on to the food bank, with it being holiday season, the food bank did very well through the Thanksgiving holiday due to the help of countless civics groups, businesses, and residents that made donations. In all honesty, I saw a list of it, and it was so long we'd probably sit here all night going through that list if I listed them all. So I think we should be very proud of our community for stepping up and helping others. There are so many that we might be here all night. With the holiday season still upon us, there are continued needs at the food bank. Cleaning products, paper products, and toiletries are the most needed items right now. These are not covered by the SNAP program, and they are expensive. To use the food bank, contact Human Services at 860-648-6361, extension 3335, and a caseworker will schedule an appointment for you. Proof of residency and income is required. I had the opportunity to attend the State Economic Development Forum last week. This event has been held over the last few years and has provided interesting insight into the economic development stance of the state. This year was all about breaking myths regarding business and the financial health of our state. The key takeaway is that we all have the power to make the message about our community and state based on the way we talk about them. There are a lot of business-friendly things to celebrate in Connecticut. For example, during the forum, it was shown that there was actually a population net increase in the state, and business taxes are average when compared to other states when comparing actual dollars. So in keeping with this message of the forum, I think it's important for us all to remind each other that South Windsor is a great place for business and is ready to welcome new and redevelopment projects. In terms of our strategic planning committee, it's been a little bit difficult getting people together for a quorum due to the holidays, but I wanted to let everyone know that the committee is working on a short survey that will be sent out to the community. The expectation is the survey should go out towards probably the end of December via email. So keep your eyes open, and if someone from the public is interested in getting that survey, please make sure they send their email to the town manager's office, either by calling in or emailing it to me. Lastly, two things that are not in the report in terms of appointments to the redevelopment agency. We haven't had actually a vacancy in this agency yet in my tenure here, so this is a little bit of a new one for myself. But as I found out, I have the authority to make a recommendation. So I would like to reappoint Seal Decker to the redevelopment agency for a 5-year term, which will initially expire on December 31st, 2021, with the new term end date will be December 31st, 2026. It is also my intention to reappoint William Keown to the redevelopment agency upon his term expiration on December 31st, 2022. And then lastly, I just wanted to make everybody aware that there is currently one vacancy on that commission. Lastly, I just wanted to update everybody about the health director. I think all of you saw recently our health director resigned her position. In order to refill that position, we need to have the sign-off from the Commissioner of Health. We're kind of in a fortunate position because we have another employee in our department who's currently working on her master's in public health. The Commissioner of Public Health will not approve a health director full-time permanent without actually having that degree be conferred upon them. And while I am the appointing authority for that position, I don't have the ability to sign off on it as a permanent position without the consent from the Commissioner of the Department of Public Health. We have made a proposal to the department basically saying that we would like our employee who's currently working on this degree to fill that position in an interim basis while they finish their degree up. We are confident they are going to be finishing it, I believe within probably about 8 to 9 months, something to that effect. I did hear back from the Department of Public Health today concerned that that was a bit of a long period of time, and they would like us to enter into some type of an agreement with another community surrounding us, with the intent of allowing that community to provide a bit of a backup for our employee in the event that they have a question or something of that nature. I have already reached out to Windsor, since we work with them very closely through our mass distribution area, and as well as throughout the entire pandemic. And they're currently reviewing a template agreement that the Department of Public Health has provided to us. So I just wanted to make all of you aware, because this is a very important and key position that we're required to have by statute, and it's required to meet certain criteria in order to have the Department of Public Health actually approve it. So we are working with the department as best as we can, as well as our surrounding neighbors, in order to try to move this forward as both efficiently and effectively as possible. So I just wanted to give all of you an update, and I would expect that we'll hopefully have some type of an agreement in front of you in order to have a intermunicipal cooperation over this next year.
Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Does anyone have any questions? Counselor Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, I was listening to your strategic plan, and you talked about a short survey would go out, and I know that we had talked earlier about a survey going out to get feedback from the residents around Parks and Rec programs and what they would like to see before we move forward with a permanent home for our rec department. And I don't know how well that aspect of the strategic planning is going.
Yeah, so the way I would look at it is the strategic plan survey, and even the strategic plan itself, will be kind of a bigger picture overarching of the community. While it includes Park and Rec, it's not going to get into the granularity of what is happening at Park and Rec and things that people may want. It's more or less going to say, yes, we're happy with Park and Rec programs, or no, we're not happy with Parks and Rec programs. And it will highlight places where we need to then drill down further into. The survey that's being done at the Parks and Recreation Department, I believe, is probably going to be much more granular and provide us that more in-depth information as we move forward.
Oh, thank you for clarifying. I was under the impression that the survey, we were waiting for the Strategic Planning Committee to do that survey, but it's actually going to be coming from the Parks and Rec, a survey to the town? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the Parks and Rec Commission actually has done, so it's two separate surveys, just to make sure we're clear. There's one from the Strategic Planning Committee, there's one from Parks and Rec Commission. So
Yes.
Parks and Rec Commission has done surveying of their constituency multiple times over the last few years on a pretty regular basis, in all honesty. So I believe they're kind of bringing that back up and rebirthing that so that residents have more input into some of their programming.
So they're going to again come out to the town residents and ask again what they want in a rec program, or they have all the information, or do they have all the information they need?
So
and
so strategic planning survey is going to be, do you like Park and Rec or not?
Yes.
Do you like the police department or not? This is a bit overly simplified,
Right,
but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you happy with this or not? The Parks and Recreation survey will be, the
Specific.
town could provide pickleball to an extra 10 courts. Would you like that? What are your feelings on providing a pool?
And that,
What are
so
your-
I guess
so
that's my
that kind
question
of
is, when is that going to happen?
I know it's in the works. I haven't heard exactly a date when it's going to come out yet.
Counselor Gamble, if we could help out just a little bit. Strategic plan is an overall of the town, that they would let Mr. Maniscalco know about what they're happy with the town. Park and Rec Commission is sending out a survey that is specific only to Park and Rec. And Counselor Evans is our liaison, so she can fill us in when the Park and Rec is going to happen, that survey, that is specific just to Park and Rec. So go ahead, Counselor Evans.
I'm sorry, I don't want to sound, no, I can drop this right now. I don't want to sound like belaboring this, but it was brought up at a meeting that this was going to correspond with a strategic planning. And so I was just making sure that that wasn't the case, and this was holding up that. So I'm fine with understanding that. So
yeah.
we don't need to keep explaining. to
Got
me.
it,
I
okay.
get it.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? We have Counselor Paterno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, in terms of the health director, I know this person will be an interim position right now until the degree is completed, but will that person be able to receive some additional financial compensation for the additional duties she's taking on?
Yeah, whenever we've had other employees take on additional responsibilities, we do compensate them for that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Certainly.
Counselor Kabasky?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, I had a couple people about a week and a half ago come up to me after they had received their new assessments, and they had a question regarding what the process is for the taxes going forward. Their concern was, will we set the mill rate using the old assessments and then apply that to the new assessments? Could you just kind of do a high-level approach as to how we're going to handle that?
Yeah, 'tis the season with the reval, so I think the easiest way to look at this is, the town goes out and we reevaluate the values of everybody's homes. That value doesn't inform the mill rate, or that value is only one part of the equation that creates the mill rate, is the way to say it. The other part of that is the actual creation of the budget. As we go through the budgetary process, we go through all the different department expenses, the Board of Ed expenses, our debt requirements, all those sorts of things get all put together to create the budget. We take that number and then we take the value, the total value of the grand list, which is informed by revaluation, which then creates our mill rate. So when we go through revaluation, the expectation is that the mill rate will probably go down because our values go up. So there's a balancing that occurs. Then after that, when we create the budget, that budget is then used with the grand list value to create the mill rate.
Perfect, thank you.
Counselor Evans?
Thank you. I just was wondering if we could get an update on the COVID memorial, where that stands, how progress has gone, what we're waiting on, and how far out we might be from doing some kind of opening, welcoming.
So I just got an email today that the COVID memorial is complete. I haven't had a chance to talk to staff in terms of when we would do some type of an opening or a ribbon cutting or something of that nature yet, but we will be doing one soon.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Just a quick question. In regards to the State Economic Development Forum, is this the type of thing that anyone can go to? And the only reason I'm asking that is in light of a lot of the things that have popped up recently, even in regards to planning and zoning, so on and so forth. Is it the type of situation that even our own EDC could attend, just so that they're aware of everything that you are obviously reporting on?
Sure. I believe an invitation went out in mass.
Okay.
I mean, I got an invitation through my email.
Right.
When I was there, I saw everybody from chief executive officers from municipalities, chief elected officers from municipalities, as well as the CEO of General Dynamics and Electric Boat. Pratt & Whitney was there, as well as a large number of other business entities from around the state. So my understanding is it was open to anybody. It was held at Yale University in New Haven. So, yep.
Thank you. Mr. Maniscalco, just a few questions. Thank you for clarifying the redevelopment agency thing tonight and the removal and the appointment. As far as the health director is concerned, do we have intentions of hiring that person after they get their degrees into that position, or would they have to apply?
I think there's a fair chance we would probably be looking at that, but we're going to be evaluating things as we move forward.
Okay, and then we would be replacing, if that person moved up to the director, we would be replacing her position or their position, his position.
We're going to need to add another employee to that department now anyways, just
Okay.
because there's been two employees in that department, and the workload requires it, in all honesty, because we need people to go through, and we're getting into re-permitting season, so all of our tattoo and restaurant establishments in town need to apply for and get a new permit. And then after they get their new permit, after the first of the year, then we have to go through and we have to do inspections for all those, which is going to be pretty labor intensive for just one person. I don't think could actually pull it
So
off.
the person that we had on as a grant person, is that grant over with?
No, we do still have a person on a grant.
Okay.
That grant is related to COVID, so
Right.
they can't actually put that work in doing the other stuff. So the current, so the department actually has 2 FTEs
Okay,
before we had the departure, so.
Okay.
And then there was a grant employee beyond that.
got it. All right, thank you. And please thank Windsor once you get that contract with them. Thank them for working.
Fingers crossed they agree to it.
I'm
so.
hoping. So please thank them from us for working with us. Appreciate it.
Good.
Any other questions for Mr. Maniscalco? Not seeing any. We'll be moving on to 7, public input for any items on the agenda. Any items on the agenda from anyone in the public? Good evening, Mr. Edwards.
Good evening. Thank you for the fair warning about Saturday. Excited to see the fire trucks. Dan Edwards, 131 Hilton Drive. I'm here tonight relative to item 8 of the agenda, specifically item 15 and 16 of the November 21st meeting minutes. Just looking at, start with item 16. Kindly ask that you consider amending Councilor Leidecker. It states here that she adds that during the meeting there were 12 Republican nominations that were passed without discussion, comments, or removals. There were actually 11. And
What page? Where are we at? Last page? Thank you. Just give us a chance to all catch up, please.
Sure. And given that that comment is in reference,
So it's 11? Instead of 12, it's 11?
it's correct.
Okay. We're going to have to cross-reference that correction.
That's fair. And again, I
Amanda, if you could cross-reference, it's on the last page of the minutes. Amanda? Okay. So if 11 is correct, could you make sure that that change happens, please?
That is it. I actually have not stoked about the way my statements were recorded, but I think it's more important to get the right number. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else from the public like to speak to the council concerning any items on the agenda? Anyone else from the public? Not seeing any. We'll move on to item 8, which is adoption of previous minutes of previous meetings. And that is Councilor Kozakowski, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the November 21, 2022 council meeting minutes. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the regular town council meeting of November 21, 2022.
And with the discussion on this, there is a second. Okay, we have a discussion on the last page that was just pointed out to us to change it from 12 to 11. And Amanda, you're going to probably have to look back and count all the nominations. There are 11. Okay, thank you, love. So there are 11. So we'll go ahead with, someone make a motion to amend it, please, to correct it.
Well, I think it's a matter of how you read the sentence to be. It says there were 12 Republican nominations. The Republicans nominated 12 people. 11 of them were Republicans and 1 was an undecided. Is that correct?
Where are you reading that, please?
I'm reading Councilor Leidecker's on page 20 of 20.
Yeah?
It says there were 12 Republican nominations that were passed. The Republicans nominated 12 people. They were all passed. 11 of those were Republican nominations. 1 was unaffiliated.
Correct. So there is 12.
Yes. There were not 12 Republicans that were nominated.
Right.
The Republicans nominated 12 people. So I don't know how you want to interpret it, but either way, it's,
So
you
then we
could
should-
change it,
So it is correct, at 12.
if you read it, the Republicans nominated 12 people, then yeah, it's correct.
They did,
11 Republicans and
They
1
did.
unaffiliated.
right.
I would,
They did nominate 12. Yep. So thank you for seeing that. So there is no change. No change. So all those in favor of the agenda, the minutes? Aye. Any nays? Not hearing any, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Gamble. Okay, and moving on to item number 9, communications from liaisons, officers, and boards directly responsible to the council. Counselor Evans, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that the Human Relations Commission is working with Hartford Bags of Love with Officer Barrett, as well as in conjunction with the Mayor's Day of Giving. It's going to be in honor of Martin Luther King Day, collecting gently used adult backpacks, hats, and gloves to be donated to Hartford Bags of Love, which is a group that works with people who are homeless and in need. Items can be dropped off at a box at the Senior Center between now and January 13th.
Thank you. Any other reports? Counselor Kozakowski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to report that the Planning and Zoning Commission had a meeting on November 29th where they took a couple of actions that are of public worthy and worthy of notice of the
Sure.
council. First, they approved the site plan for a new 99,000 square foot building for a climate control self-storage facility at 249 Ellington Road. They also approved the site plan for the 2 portable classrooms at Philip R. Smith. They, taking no action, they saw a concept master plan for development on King Street, and they also saw a concept plan for a mixed income affordable housing development on Deming Street.
Well, thank you, Counselor Kozakowski. Make sure to watch that meeting to get some more information. That's interesting stuff. Anyone else have any reports? Not seeing any, we're moving on to item 11, please. The consent agenda, and that would be, I'm sorry? Oh, did I miss number 10? I almost missed number 10, thank you. Number 10, reports from committees. Is there any reports from any committees? Not hearing any. Counselor Paterna,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
did you have a report from a committee?
Yeah, we can mention it.
No, I'm sorry, hang on.
Yes, go ahead.
I apologize, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
We did have a meeting for the quad board. When was that? That was Wednesday? It was last Wednesday, so we have met. We plan on meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. It was a well-attended meeting. The first meeting went very well, I think. So we have some action items going forward, but the group did meet.
And that's the Quad Board Subcommittee.
Correct.
That's consisting of 2 volunteers from each of the boards that are meeting. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, now moving, thank you for that report. Now moving on, item number 11 is Counselor Paterna, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is our first reading. Motion to approve item 11A1 through 11A17 as a first reading on the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Is there any changes, deletions, removals, anything like that that anyone has concerns with? Not seeing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. The motion carries. Moving on to 11B for a second, is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
11B for the second reading, which is Counselor Gamble, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion to approve items 11B1 through 11B12, exclusive of 11B11, as a second reading on the consent agenda.
Is there any corrections, deletions? Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Clear, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, the motion carries. Moving on to 11C, which is miscellaneous. There is none. Moving on to item number 12, which is a discussion item, a draft resolution regarding the purchasing exemptions, and that would be Mr. Maniscalco. And as you can all see, what we have before us on our desk is the updated version of that resolution. Mr. Maniscalco, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, again, the resolution that's in front of you, there's a couple quick modifications. My understanding is that my name was actually removed from it so that it's just for the position, not for the individual. And then also, there was one last section added in the back basically says that nothing in this resolution shall abrogate the provisions of the Charter Section 1001 requiring disclosure of financial interest by any elected or appointed town official, board or commission member or employee, because basically we heard there might be a little bit of concern related to ethics associated with this. And while we're all held under the code of ethics that are in the town charter, we wanted to just reaffirm that in the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Is there anyone with comments or questions concerning this revised? Counselor Paterno, do you have your light on first?
Oh, no,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
For the,
I think you also should have a report in your packet about the potential expenditures that we have.
yes, we
were
have
asked
that
for.
too.
You should have that as well.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Maniscalco on the changes on the resolution and/or the report that is before us of the expenditures? And Counselor Gamble, that's something that you asked for, and you have it. All right. Just happy you got it. There you go. And do you have any questions about that? No, okay. No one has any questions. Counselor Paterno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, just one question. In terms of anything that we're doing below this $5,000 threshold, are we going to use the state list as often as possible?
Yeah, so in all honesty, I think this is my experience with a lot of the staff, because I don't end up doing a lot of the purchasing myself. It's usually through department heads.
Right.
But my experience is a lot of the staff, it's easier to use state contracts, regional purchasing councils, things of that nature, almost all the time as much as possible. And they typically are the best price that we can get out there. So as often as possible, whether it's under that $5,000 limit or even above that,
Right.
If we can use those regional purchasing councils or state contracts, we do that.
Right, and generally, just so people understand what the state list really entails, that these people have already put in bids to the state and have been reviewed by the state and now are on an acceptable list. So this is not somebody who just walks in and says, hey, I have a great deal for you. Okay.
Correct, yeah. So basically what it is that there's state statute that allows municipalities to kind of piggyback on other bids that have been done either at the state level in other municipalities or other states even, or regional entities, so.
Yes, because what was in the agenda? Yeah, give me a second. Mr. Maniscalco, just a question about the revised resolution that's been given us this evening with the addition on here. I have a question because it's been put out there in the public that someone from a board, commission, or a town official, or appointed, or elected, or anyone, a commission member or employee, if they want to come into town and they want to do business with the town with something that is under $5,000, and they want to see you, Mr. Maniscalco, and they're going to say, I am on a board and commission, but I'm going to offer you $4,500 to go see that grass over there. According to our charter, it should be revealed, according to the charter of 1001, I guess, of the town attorney I'm asking too, that that person or doing business with that company should be revealed to the town council or not? Mr. Town Attorney?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the council or
Right. It is required to be disclosed. Let me just check as to whom that disclosure should be made. If it's to the town council,
Okay.
or if it's to the body on
Okay.
on whom that person sits.
And I'm asking because there have been statements that we're padding our pockets or we're getting bribes or we're doing special favors for people that are on a board or a commission or a volunteer or an elected official of our community. And I'd like to make it perfectly clear and transparent that if any business is done with any company out there, if someone that is on a board or commission, that with Mr. Maniscalco that's under the $5,000, how does that transparency get revealed?
So reading, just the easiest way is just to read this. Any elected or appointed town officer, board or commission member, or employee who has or may have a significant financial interest, direct or indirect, in any contract, transaction, or decision of any agency agent, officer, board, or commission of the town shall immediately disclose the nature and extent of that interest in writing to the town clerk, who shall record such disclosure upon the official record filed in the office of the town clerk. Town clerk shall then send a copy of such disclosure to the agency, agent, officer, board, or commission of the town making such contract, transaction, or decision. So,
So if someone is-
disclosure of a financial interest in a contract with the town needs to be disclosed to the town clerk. The town clerk delivers that to the agency where that contract is being made.
Okay, thank you. And that contract that would normally be made, Mr. Maniscalco, would that contract, let's say for $4,500, only be made between the department head, or would you have involvement with that contract also?
No, it's my responsibility to sign off on those.
Okay, so you're aware of that then too, besides the town clerk? Okay, great, thank you. And if there was any, so it is in full disclosure, and that, Attorney Corella, that was based off of the charter?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. So I wanted to make that clear, for public information, and absolutely clear for our public. There is accountability, and there is a trail of anyone doing business with the town under $5,000.
I do have one question, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I thought
Oh.
of one while you were speaking. You had a good point, and I wanted to just, it made me think of a question. So,
Oh, help yourself, please.
So I'm looking at all these great reports you gave me, and I just want to be clear that just because an item is on this report does not mean that if you how can I word that? If you waived the right for competitive bid, it's not necessarily you would have waived the right to competitive bid these. You just gave us a report of items that were between $5,000 and $25,000, right? Like all these things do not, like if you didn't buy, this VMP bathroom floor repair, that would not have impeded, that would not have been an emergency that would have impeded the operation efficiencies of the town, right? Like or are you saying that all these things we would have waived?
Well, yeah, so through the resolution that you're gonna pass, anything between $5,000 and $25,000 would then be waived for bidding. We would probably be seeking as many quotes as possible in order to try to get the most efficient, or most cost-effective, supply of whatever it might be, for the town. Because I believe we have a responsibility to do that as it is. So the report you have is just all the potential expenditures that we could find between $5,000 and $25,000 at this time. There could be others that pop up throughout the rest of the fiscal year, of course, but right now, that's what we have.
Okay, I mean, because the original intent was when you came to police chief came to us and said, I need, body armor and I need it kind of now to get it. And we're like, well, obviously that's a good use of, waiving the bidding process. But, a lot of these I don't know. And so the wording here where it says impediment to the efficient operations of the town, so that's a judgment call on your part, whether or not you would look to bid first.
Of course,
Right,
I would,
okay.
at the bare minimum,
Right.
in all honesty, for myself, the bare minimum floor of it would be to get 3 quotes.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to clarify that there is some sort of judgment at trying to, bid first and then
Of course.
waive second. Okay.
Of course.
It's this, when you see this number of things, I just want to make it clear that we're trying to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Gamble. Any other comments or questions? Counselor Evans?
Thank you. The questions and discussion we've had made me just think to ask, and perhaps it doesn't really relate to this particular resolution and the purchasing. How are public labor agreements, how do they factor into this? Are we using them through the town for these projects, or at what point do we require appealing?
So I think any project that we have, if my memory serves me correctly, I think it's $200,000 is the statutory limit right now. So any project that we have of $200,000 or more has to use prevailing wage and public labor and all that sort of stuff. So we don't enter into public labor agreements, but we are required to follow prevailing wage for any project over $200,000.
Okay, so that would not apply to this.
Probably not. No.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor King?
Now, because we're not voting on this, but because we already had the agenda that was set out to the public, I think that we need to make an amendment to add this last paragraph on the back.
Yeah, I think
Correct,
from-
please.
Okay.
Yeah,
Make a
from
motion to
Yes, so I'd
amend
like
this.
to make a motion that we add the back piece that we just talked about, be resolved that nothing in this resolution shall abrogate the provisions of Charter Section 1001 requiring disclosure of financial interests by any elected or appointed town official, board, or commission member, or employee.
Is there a second? And any questions concerning this statement? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. The motion carries to add that paragraph in to the resolution. And as far as removing the town manager's name and putting in, yes, as in putting in the town, that was already done, so we don't need to do anything with that this evening, correct, Attorney Carrillo? Or do we?
Well, that's in the revised version that you passed out. It does not appear to be in the
Okay, so we
agenda,
need
so
to
you
do a motion for that. And that would be where, sir, please, is that in paragraph 3, where it says the town? Do you know where the change was made, please?
It's in the
Yeah.
first, second, third, it's in the fourth paragraph. Remove Mr. Maniscalco's name there.
Can we just make a blanket statement that if Mr. Maniscalco's name, the town manager's name, was removed from the whole document and replaced by the word "the town"?
Yes, it was. In the revision that's entitled revised 120502 draft resolution on the upper left-hand corner, that's the most recent version, and that's what you can vote on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if that's the case, then, let's see, we already have a motion on the floor.
You're going to make a new motion, because we already voted on that first motion.
Oh, that's right.
You're going to make a new motion.
So then I move that we accept the revision, revised 1205, 2022 draft resolution, Town of South Windsor Town Council resolution regarding purchasing that we received, and we make that sent out to the public as well.
Is that good? Thank you. Is there a second? Second? All those in favor? Oh, aye. And Counselor Evans, do you have a question concerning this new resolution?
I just wanted to be clear for the public that we are not voting on this resolution. We are just making amendments to the draft resolution for future.
Correct. It's a draft
Just wanted to be clear.
resolution.
We're
Correct.
voting on a lot of things, so I just want to make sure that the public's aware that we are not.
Correct.
Thank you.
So we're correct, we're approving the changes or the draft resolution that was presented. And all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any? The motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco and Attorney Carrillo. And moving on, we are now on to item 13A, which is new business, and it is a presentation on Pleasant Valley Road Bridge Replacement Project and Detour Alternatives with discussion from Mr. Vincent Stetson and Jeff Doolittle. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. And we do have a document before us this evening from Mr. Doolittle and Mr. Stetson concerning a little bit of a PowerPoint. So we will need to move down to the other seats.
Good evening. Yes, we do have a PowerPoint presentation as soon as it warms up. Yes. Ready? Yes, sir. Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors. I'm Jeff Doolittle with the Town Engineering Department. With me is Vincent Stetson, Director of Public Works. Here to give you an update on the Pleasant Valley Road Bridge Replacement Project. This is a picture of the bridge as it currently stands, looking at it from the park from the downstream side. And this is a picture of the top of the bridge looking at it facing east. so approaching from the Route 5 side of the bridge. So we've had a project now for a little over a year to replace this bridge. Just a little background. The bridge was last inspected in 2020 by the Connecticut DOT. They found it to be in fair condition and determined it was in need of full replacement. In 2021, we got a grant from the State Department of Transportation Local Bridge Program to fund 50% of the cost to design and replace this bridge. And we've been working on that since then. So the current plan is to demolish this bridge, remove it entirely, and replace it with a new bridge. New concrete abutments, founded on piles, new concrete superstructure, concrete parapet walls, and with some bridge rail, and new roadway. The new bridge is proposed to be a little bit longer, at about 41 feet versus 26 feet. And it will be a little bit wider. The current roadway is about 30 feet. The current bridge is about 32 feet. The proposed bridge will be about 36 feet for about the same width roadway, but we're adding a sidewalk on the north side of the bridge. We have, in addition, the bridge and the roadway needs to be raised over 2 feet to comply with the floodway requirements established by the Connecticut DOT, Connecticut DEP, and Army Corps of Engineers. So this will involve substantial rework of the road in both directions of the bridge, totaling about 600 feet. So I just wanted to give you that image here. So this shows the bridge, looking at an aerial view of the road, and an example of the pad that we used for a crane to set the bridge that was recently reconstructed on Main Street. So you can see from this, the bridge takes up a good chunk of the road. The river makes a sharp turn north of the bridge. So the river is flowing south or to the bottom of this image. And it's very close to the road on the north side of the bridge. The red rectangle that says crane pad location, that's about the size of the crane pad we had to create to replace the Main Street bridge. This bridge isn't quite as big, so we may not need quite as big a pad, but any crane will take up a substantial amount of room. The point of this image is it's going to need a lot of room to do this work. And just as a reference, this is a picture of the crane and the bridge on Main Street right after they set it. So this is the entire bridge, the base structure of the bridge is right here, and that's the size of the crane they needed to set these beams. They were very big. So we've looked at alternatives for this bridge, including alternative designs. We believe the design you saw we use on Main Street is the most cost-effective and the easiest to construct, but I just wanted to review those alternatives with you. And that would require closing the bridge. Obviously, it would be very difficult to reconstruct this type of bridge in segments. It could be done, but it would be difficult and more costly, as I'll go over. So if we close the bridge, we believe we can replace this bridge in a 6 to 8 month time frame. The Main Street Bridge was done in 6 months. It worked very smoothly. We can't always assume it's going to go that smoothly, but so we're saying 6 to 8 months. Current estimated project cost is about $4.28 million. Costs have gone up considerably in the last year. Hopefully that doesn't continue. This would require closing the bridge and closing Pleasant Valley Road to all traffic. We would establish a temporary detour using Ellington Road, Chapel Road, and Route 5, which is about 2.5 miles in total for this 6 to 8 month duration. If we staged the bridge reconstruction and kept one lane of traffic open, obviously that would allow some traffic to pass through the bridge. It would be only one lane. There would be a temporary signal. But that would extend the construction period to 12 to 18 months. It would increase the cost at least 20 to 30%, and that's a real rough number. It would mean a wider bridge, more disruption to the abutting properties, to the river. And as I said, there'd be a temporary traffic signal in place for a one-lane bridge. And there would probably be times when the bridge would have to be closed out of safety for a day or several days in a row. We don't want big equipment operating there and having cars trying to go by at the same time. That's just not a safe situation. So this would be the detour route we would propose. So our recommendation as we move forward with this project into permitting is to close Pleasant Valley Road Bridge for the duration of this project so we can replace it in the most expedited and cost-effective way. We would establish a temporary detour, and we would proceed with finalizing the design and the permitting to use these precast concrete beams, which we believe, again, allow us to do this as quickly and cost-effectively as possible. It is some disruption to the residents and the people that use Pleasant Valley Road, and we recognize that a lot of people use Pleasant Valley Road, but we feel this being a shorter time frame overall reduces the impacts of this project on the community. And we have talked to emergency services, I will add, about this detour and about this proposal, and they're on board with that. The fire chief, the police chief has said they can live with this for 6 to 8 months. They can get around this. They can get to all the calls they need to get to. They don't feel it would significantly impact their services. So I'm here to answer any other questions you may have about this project.
Get on. Thank you, Mr. Doolittle, for this presentation. Is there anyone that has any questions for Mr. Doolittle or Mr. Stetson, please? Counselor Gamble.
Thank you, Mr. Doolittle, for the presentation. I don't disagree that get it one and done as soon as possible is probably the best option. Can you bring back the slide of the proposed detour plan? I'm trying to see where actually this bridge is. I don't drive the road, so.
It's down in front of VMP.
It's right, is it, so it's right after the entrance to the pool? So those coming from like Route 5 can't get there. They have to go all the way around.
Right.
And then go in there.
Right,
Okay.
that is correct. But Pleasant Valley Veterans Memorial Park would remain open. All the properties would have access with this detour plan. Is
Pleasant Valley one of the first roads we were considering doing for paving for progress?
Actually, it's not on the paving progress, it's on the previous bond referendum, the 2021 bond referendum. And yes, we're working very hard to coordinate this with the reconstruction of Pleasant Valley Road. And our thought is to reconstruct this section of Pleasant Valley Road, roughly from Pepin Lane to Ellington Road, at the same time we do the bridge work. So we close it to most traffic and get everything done in about the same time.
I knew you thought of that. I just wanted to hear you say it out loud for everybody else. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor Gamble. Counselor Kubasky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just a couple questions. I do like the idea of, as Councilor Gamble said, one and done, let's close it down. But if we decided to go the route of keeping it open partially, would there be a concern with the amount of truck traffic on that road going over a temporary bridge as we were working through the construction on the new bridge?
Well, we would hope, we'd have to look at that, honestly. We would hope that we could demolish part of the existing bridge, and what is left would accommodate truck traffic. We'd have to evaluate the existing bridge to see if that actually was the case. At this point, we're not planning to build a temporary bridge, but if the existing bridge didn't accommodate truck traffic, we'd either have to limit truck traffic, which would be difficult, or build a temporary bridge. For example, on the Main Street Bridge, once they started taking that apart, it would not have accommodated any truck traffic. That bridge was in such bad shape, and it had lower truck ratings to begin with. This bridge is in better shape to start with, but that would be evaluated as part of that process.
And my second question was regarding the any fire trucks or whatever, but you preempted that by researching that before.
No,
so
we would,
thank you very much.
if we were allowed traffic over, certainly we would allow fire trucks over it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor Kubasky. Counselor Evans.
Thank you. You basically touched on it, was saying that the park would remain open, but would there be any impact on it, with access or coming into like the park area because the bridge is right there? Is there any impact or closures that it would lead to? Temporary?
There would be, we would coordinate that. There's going to be some impacts in the park. I won't say there's no impacts, but we coordinate them so they'd be off hours or out of the season when the park is obviously the busiest, from Labor Day to, or Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor King?
Thank you for the presentation. The only question that I had, is there anyone else that would be involved in this bridge, putting it together, breaking it down? And the reason that I'm asking that question is I know there's a situation right now in Vernon with Eversource, and where that mayor had to actually say, if this is not done by a certain time, trespassing, the whole nine. Is there any concern that we have to worry about anything like that popping off, or is it just all us?
No, there are utilities involved. So you have Eversource, Frontier, Cox has cables over the bridge. MDC and Eversource Gas has lines under the bridge. So they would need to be temporarily relocated and then put back on the bridge as it's reconstructed. We have met with them once. We've discussed this. We're going to meet with them again later this month and make sure they're on board and coordinate this with them. And obviously, we're not going to close the road and the bridge until they've moved or they're really ready to move.
So that's for me, that's a concern, just to make sure that we're aware of it as a council, that right now Vernon is going through a situation where Eversource, until they do something, the town can't move forward with their reconstruction. And so I just want to make sure that that's not going to be us, especially in light of the councilor's comments in regards to where this is actually happening, which is, I mean, it's their only pool in town. So,
Right.
is there a way to put that in writing where if something does happen, that there's some financial liability, something, I'm not sure, I'm just asking because, again, when a mayor has to literally sue a utility company and say, you're gonna be considered trespassing if it's not done by Christmas, that's, you know, I just wanna get in front of something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. It's a legal question. We typically work with the utilities up front and try and get things up front so we don't get to the point. I know it's very difficult to sue a utility company in Connecticut. They got some pretty strong protections under the state. And I know Eversource has a lot of attorneys, so I really don't want to go down that path.
Right, and that's the reason that I'm asking that if we put it in front, then if there's something that pops off later, then we've already said, you know, we're not suing you later. This is part of the contract.
I mean, there could be time is of the essence clauses in these contracts, but it's between the contractor and the town, and typically the utility companies are third parties to these deals, and you really don't have a lot of teeth when it comes to the utility easements and their timing and what they need to do to disconnect and reconnect. It really becomes really more of just their responsibility to have that utility infrastructure in place, and that you're marching on their time, pretty much.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Forgive the sunglasses, it's just that I'm being on a spotlight right here, okay? I just thought I'd be funny a little bit. But I do have a few questions for you, Mr. Doolittle, and that is the truck traffic in the neighborhood of Hilton Drive neighborhood. And they get to that point and they say detour because they're coming off of Route 5 and they may be used to using Pleasant Valley Road. How are we going to eliminate the trucks from going into the Hilton Drive neighborhood?
Well, we're going to post a detour back at Route 5.
Good.
And certainly at Nutmeg Road
Yes.
as a backup to get them off of Pleasant Valley Road before they get to Hilton Drive.
Wonderful, thank you. My next one is, does the state have any concerns with this bridge replacement like they did with the Main Street Bridge with any of the critters that may be in that water and we have to use a specific rock and so on and so forth? And I know as a child, I went down there and caught crayfish in that river and went fishing in that river.
Right.
So I'm asking if the state may have any concerns with any of the mollusks or clams or crayfish or crawdads or anything that might be in that water.
Yes, so we actually hired a consultant to do a survey of mollusks, of endangered mollusks, and they did not find any endangered mollusks. There are ordinary common mollusks in the river. There may be crawfish in the river. They said there is plenty of evidence of beavers in the river.
Oh, yeah.
They're not endangered. They will be fine. We will take standard precautions to protect them. We're not going to put a lot of rocks in the river, and they should be fine.
Okay, and then my next question is, thank you. You discussed talking about raising the road up by 2 feet and the bridge up by 2 feet, and that's why I'm still sitting here with this on. So once I'm done, then maybe we can turn that off. But if you go to the slide of the road that you were discussing of raising the 2 feet, if I could ask a question about that, please. right here.
Sure.
You see the bridge, and you're talking about raising the bridge up 2 feet, but then you're also talking about going in the direction of Ellington Road and raising the road 2 feet, so that will help with that decline that is presently there. Is that what you're saying?
To some extent, yes. The top of the hill looking east will still be there. You'll come down to a higher low point in the road, just this side of the park driveway, the park.
Oh, just side of the park, okay, so it's not
But then
gonna
you'll come up
affect.
over the bridge. So actually, the curve over the bridge will be a little steeper, and the low points will be a little higher, but then it'll blend in with the existing road on both sides.
I see, okay. So it's only the bridge that's going up the 2 feet and a little bit of the road, but not much of the,
Well-
not the whole road up to that hill?
Not all the way up to that hill, no.
Okay, and on the same note, on the other side of the bridge, there's a pump station there, I believe?
Yes.
Is the raising of the bridge, the 2 feet, going to affect the driveway of the pump station and/or the neighbor's driveway that is next to, if you go to the other map, the overview, the above, the bird's eye view? You can see,
Yep.
and there's a pump station, and then there's the neighbor's driveway. Raising the bridge up the 2 feet, will that affect either one of those driveways?
So the neighbor's driveway on the north side, the road will be raised slightly there, maybe 6 inches. We'll reconstruct part of his driveway and blend it in. The pump station driveway is right next to the bridge. So we've already talked to Tony Manfrey from Pollution Control, and we're looking to move that driveway further to the west, away from the pump station, where the grade won't be as much of a change. If we tried to keep the driveway there, it would be difficult, yes.
Okay,
So we're going to move the pump station driveway, and they would come in, and it would actually give them more room to get their trucks into the pump station. You know, I went by there last week, and they had one of their pickups parked in front of the pump station, and the nose of the pickup was right at the road. It's not a very big driveway.
oh, it's about that big for them to park at that pump station, yeah.
Yes.
So on the citizens, on the residents' driveway, please, you're saying that it may be raised up by 6 inches or so, but the town will take care of that for them on that apron piece and any drainage that they may need. Thank you. And you said with the pool, you're gonna try to do this off-season of the pool, or
No,
no?
we're not going to be able to do it off-season of the pool. There's not
Okay.
enough time
Got it,
off-season, but we would try and minimize disruption to the pool during their peak season.
okay, got it, thank you. Let's see, raising of the road. Can't even see through my sunglasses. Okay, and then, what did I write? Letter of the bridge, let's see. Do we have letters that will be going out to the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay,
We actually have, I've already contacted that neighbor you mentioned and the neighbor to the east, Mr. Charbonneau.
yep,
And we are we've scheduled a public information meeting for December 20th. We've got a public notice out about that. We'll invite all these abutting neighbors specifically to that meeting. And we have applied to the Inland Wetlands Agency for a permit, and they will likely hold a public hearing later in November or December as well. So there'll be another chance for the public to learn about this project.
and I think my other question is, with the width of the bridge being a little bit larger, and yes, raised up, is this gonna impact the parking at BMP?
No.
Okay. There's enough ground space there, that won't affect the parking. Thank you, thank you. Does anyone else? Yeah, absolutely, Councilor Lopez. I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Doolittle, for this presentation. Back to the map of the detour. I was reading an improved road safety South Windsor website, Facebook page, in which there was some concern about the delay of turning on Route 5 because of the train that is stopping or passing by. Now I see that the detour will cause more traffic towards that way. Has the analysis done any study, or has the study done any analysis on what kind of impact that will be?
We have not done a study from this. I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. The train comes by, my understanding is the train comes by Chapel Road is what you're speaking to, right? Once a day, and the train operator has worked with the state and the Home Depot Distribution Center to try and minimize disruptions from that crossing. Obviously, there is some disruption there. There may be a few more vehicles backed up if they end up getting stuck at that time, but they're working on minimizing that right now.
All right, thank you.
Can I also help out with that? Just in terms of that as a general issue, our police department has been keeping tabs on the intersection there with Chapel. And my understanding is there hasn't been a wait. I want to say it was like 2 to 3 minutes at the longest while they were shuffling some train cars back and forth. Now, there may be an instance where it may take longer, but that's kind of been the average. We have had some communications with Home Depot about trying to identify some other methods of making sure we could let people know if there was a train coming by or not, but none of those have materialized yet, so.
And
it's
the other
something
thing
that we-
is, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Route 30 continues further south to Route 5. So if somebody knew that train was backing up traffic, they have another way around this.
And speaking of train tracks and Route 5 and possible more truck traffic on that, Mr. Maniscalco, I'd like to just bring up one more thing, and I'm sorry, just take your time on this. The train tracks on Ellington Road and Route 5, I mentioned this to you once before. You did contact them concerning that, but they're getting much worse. So if they could get out here sooner than later to fix those, that'd be great.
We can make sure we reach out to them again.
Thank you, thank you. I know we did once before, but so, and then it just brought me to thinking, what Councilor Lopez was saying, and how are we going to avoid the truck traffic? They know that this is going on, instead of going out of their way to Chapel for them to not use Governor's Highway.
We're going to send them to Chapel Road. We're not going to mark Governor's Highway as any kind of detour. I do not want to send more trucks up to Governor's Highway.
They might figure it out, though, unfortunately. Yeah, I know. I know. Well, thank you for your presentation. Any other questions? Not seeing any, we'll move on. Thank you for coming this evening. We're now on, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Now I can see. We are now on item 13B. Counselor Evans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Discussion amending the ordinance for the Social Justice Racial Equity Commission. As I brought up last meeting, trying to find a way to allow this commission to move forward more effectively. They actually have found a date that all 5 current members are able to meet, so on December 12th, the first meeting will be held. The only way that this commission can currently meet is if every seated commissioner is available and able to attend. So by looking at membership, we can create a path for this commission to be able to move forward more easily. Currently, the way that the commission exists is, based on ordinance, is to consist of 2 members. This is in the first paragraph on the page that everyone was giving of the ordinance. The commission will consist of 2 members who shall be Republicans, 2 members who shall be Democrats, 2 members who are not affiliated with the Republican Party but appointed by the Republican Party, and 2 members who are not affiliated with the Democratic Party but appointed by the Democratic Party. The idea was to make this as non-political as possible and to allow a more inclusive grouping outside of the Democratic and Republican Party. It has not really worked out that way, with some seats not being filled. So my suggestion, especially with trying to include more of our non-Democrat and non-Republican members of the community, I did have one suggestion sent in, which is an option as well, is to move this to more of a town council committee, and all seats would be nominated and appointed by the council. I personally would like to keep it as a commission. My thought is to move it to a 3-3-3 membership, which would be 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 3 registered voters not affiliated with either the Democratic or Republican parties. That way there is an equal representation by the 3 groups. It would grow the group by 1 member. Currently there are 8 members. This would make it 9. And it would be 3 Democrat, 3 Republican, and 3 non-Republican, non-Democrat. So that is my suggestion. The other factor that the second half of that paragraph goes into is terms. So depending on what we decide, we would have to look at how those terms would move forward and when they would expire. But looking to hear from other counselors what they think, as well as we move forward, what the community thinks. My intention with opening this commission was really, truly related to membership and amending that. But if there are other suggestions that counselors have or that the community has that will improve or change this in a beneficial way, I think this is a good time to address those as well. But my intention is related to membership.
Thank you, Counselor Evans. Counselor Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not sure if this is the right venue to discuss this, but I will bring it up until someone says not here. So we have a third party that is not Republicans or Democrats, and maybe this will be the precedent-setting committee where we have to take that into account. We have Republicans, Democrats, and then voters. I mean, we have a third party with members who are seated at the town council table and the Board of Ed table that are now have a voice in our state government. And so I don't know if I'm probably not saying this right, but I mean, at what point does this become an issue?
Madam Mayor?
Counselor Gamble?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Can
Oh, I'm
Can
sorry.
I just make a point to
Sure,
Council?
absolutely.
I want everybody to be a part of this, and so that's
hang
why
on,
I'm
we're gonna
bringing this
address
up.
that.
It's not
Hang
to
on.
be,
Go ahead.
it's not to be derogatory like that. I'm trying to,
Well,
bring that
let's-
up.
I'm very much in favor of the 3, 3, and 3, and I think, Councilor Gamble, to your question, I also share the same thoughts about this, but right now, the third party are still unaffiliated, so they would be eligible to be on this commission as unaffiliated. And then when the party becomes official, we can go back and look at how the party designation should be. But they're unaffiliated voters right now.
Yes.
But this opens the door to get them participating. That's the point. Unaffiliated.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Thank
There's-
you.
There's just one question I have, and that is, the 3 people who are unaffiliated, would they then be able to nominate themselves through the town council?
So I think they would probably have to go through one of the town committees, whichever they were most comfortable. Otherwise, if there was a formed town committee of another party, perhaps I'm wrong in my assumption of this, but I would think that that committee would have their own nominating, or they could have their own nominating person to submit them to the mayor saying no. But I think it would make sense for that town committee. So it could be the Independent Party, the Libertarians, the Working Families, it could be the Green Party, it could be the United Community Party, it could be any other party outside, it could be an unaffiliated. If that was an organized town committee, my hope, maybe I'm incorrect, but my hope is that town committee could submit their own nominations. And if they were an unaffiliated, they would need to approach a formed town committee to submit them to the town council to be nominated.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Any other suggestions or comments? Not seeing any. This is a discussion item this evening, so you will bring it back. Councilor Evans, you'll bring this back as a resolution on our meeting in January to go before, how do we change an ordinance? Mr. Town Attorney Corella there.
You need to raise the amendments. It's an existing ordinance. You need to raise the amendments, vote on them, and then put it in front of the public for a public hearing, and then there's another vote on it after the public hearing.
So it's pretty much the same way, except
same way
there's a
as
second
adopting.
public hearing. There's 2 public hearings. One is to accept the changes, and then one is to hear about it as accepted.
Right. You would
Thank you.
adopt the changed ordinance in the same fashion that you adopt a regular ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And moving on, we are now, thank you, Counselor Evans. Moving on to Counselor Lopez, item 13C. Yes, 13C. Counselor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 13C, resolution approving the Town Council's 2023 meeting dates. be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the meeting dates for the 2023 Town Council meetings as fully described on Exhibit B.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion, deletions, corrections on our meeting dates? Counselor Paterna, do you have anything or no?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I asked Counselor Paterna, who's our great calendar guy. He's our calendar guy who checks the calendar to make sure we're good with all the holidays. So we have a clear good to go from Counselor Paterna. So is there any comments about the meeting date? Counselor Evans. I'm not saying this cheerfully. Go right ahead.
So last meeting when we discussed the calendar, I was not here, but I do know that others spoke up on my behalf, and Counselor Gamble supported the idea. I don't believe there is a support for it currently, but I do want to keep putting the idea out there that perhaps we consider meeting once in July and once in August, and not take the entire month of August without a meeting. To me, it feels like a long time for the council not to meet to do its business. And to me, it would make more sense to have one meeting in July and one meeting in August. So that would be my suggestion as well.
Well, we don't have a full council here this evening to vote on that. So what's presented to us this evening is to accept the calendar as presented to us.
I have another one, though. Do we want to remove November 6th as well? I know traditionally we don't hold our meetings the night before Election Day. Do we prefer to leave that on?
We need to leave that on in case anything of emergency happens within the community that we need to deal with.
Okay.
We always leave it on. If it's not going to occur, then we just say it's not going to occur.
So what is your suggestion about my previous suggestion?
Your suggestion about your previous suggestion?
Your suggestion.
Counselor Gamble.
I was going to suggest that we're now up against it, right? We can't really not vote on it tonight because
It's got to be in by January.
right. So next year we have to have this discussion at least one meeting prior so that we can actually make it happen if we want to and support the summer meeting. So I think at this point we are where we are and we have to move forward with it. I would like to have everybody consider the one meeting in July and August, but we'd have to do so in the November meeting put that on the agenda.
Right.
So if you could remember that for the November meeting of next year, that'd be great. That would be my
Write
suggestion.
that down for future work. And that's actually would be a new council that would be sitting there to accept this and accepts the July-August meeting. Hopefully not a new council, but it could be a new council that would have to approve that in November. Right. So Councilor Evans, I'm sorry. At this point, we have to move forward.
It's totally fine. I just keep putting the idea out there because you're all going to warm up to it, and eventually we're going to make that change.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. The motion carries. Thank you. I'm sorry? Oh, who seconded? Andrew. Councilor Paterna. Thank you. Oh, I love entertainment. No passage of ordinance at item 14, item 15. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, 13D, please. 13D, please.
Oh, okay. 13D, resolution. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby reappoints, and make sure that I pronounce the name correctly. It's Ms. Seal.
Seal, yeah.
Thank you. Seal Decker to the redevelopment agency for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Is there a second? All those in favor, any discussion? Any corrections, deletions? All those in favor? Aye, thank you. Any opposed? Not hearing any, the motion carries. Thank you. And item 14 is passage of ordinance, which there is none. Item 15 is public input for any matter. Public input on any matter for the public. Public input on any matter. Not hearing any, thank you. Item 16 is communication. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sorry. Good evening, Ms. Stolnicki. Thank you.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I'm here once again regarding my name being placed in nomination by the South Windsor Republican Town Committee. I was recently nominated to an alternate position on the Inland Wetlands Conservation Commission. And once again, the mayor has continued this discrimination practice of not letting the nomination to be placed on the agenda. As I stated at several times before, I have never ever been provided a reason for these denials. I have never ever been provided the definition of high standards to which Councilor Evans said that I do not hold. I have been asking for several months why I am being denied a nomination to boards and commissions. I would like to know why the mayor continues this discrimination practice. On the afternoon of Tuesday, November 29th, at 4:30 p.m., I emailed the clerk of the council asking if my nomination was included on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The morning of November 30th at 8:04 a.m., I received an email from the clerk stating the following. Hello, Audrey. I did not go through any of the names listed during the agenda meeting. I did receive the nomination sheet, and your name is already on the agenda for the upcoming meeting. Then, the same day at 2:12 p.m., I received another email from the clerk of the council stating the following. Mrs. Delnicki, I am emailing you to make you aware of some changes made to the agenda. Your name will not appear on the agenda. If you have any questions, please contact Mayor Liz at 860-310-8281. Again, I am asking why I am continued to be discriminated against by the mayor. And again, I have asked several times at past meetings and through email what the high standards are. I have the right to a written response as to why my name was taken off the agenda, and I have a right to a written response to what the definition of high standards that Councilor Evans referred to. At the November 21st meeting, Councilor Leidecker commented during item number 16, communications from the council, about how the council just approved tonight 11 Republicans without any discussion and were unanimously approved. My question is why then are 2 Republicans being denied for appointment, with me being one of them? I am repeating the same question that I have asked several times and have not received an answer. I will read comments from the March 21st meeting made by Councilor Evans. These are verbatim. I just wanted to reflect on something that was said earlier and then it was just repeated again about if we have someone who wants to volunteer, we should be putting them in that position. And I just think we can't. Just because a person says they want to volunteer, we have a duty to the town to make sure that these are appropriate people to fill those positions. I don't think we should just be opening the door to anyone. We as councilors need to hold those we appoint to boards and commissions to a high standard, just as we do ourselves. There's the question. So I hope that as we are considering those we bring forward, that we are considering who they are, how they represent themselves, and how they will represent the town on these boards and commissions. After reading these comments again, I'm asking Councilor Evans, could you please provide me in writing your definitions of high standards? I have asked this question at past meetings and in emails to everyone on this council, not just the majority to provide a definition. I am asking all 9 members of this council, not just the majority, to please answer this question so that the public, and especially me, the one affected, what is your definition of high standards? Just because at the last meeting the council unanimously approved 11 Republicans still does not answer the question why only 2 Republicans are always being denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delnicki. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on any matter? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Tony Vieira, 68 Kelly Road. So I think it's been about 4 or 5 years ago now since the Kelly Road was redone. And I live on the corner of Kelly and Willow. And the telephone pole that is there is, I don't believe that it was replaced. And if it was replaced with a very poor quality telephone pole. My point is, the telephone pole gets worse every year, leaning out of Plum away from my house. the wires from that pole go to my house. I've called the utility company several times to try and get somebody to come out and take a look at it. Typically, wires coming from the pole to the house have a pretty good sag in it. So my wire now is so taut, it's about to pull off of my house, and I can't get anybody to respond to that. I don't know where to go from here.
Sir, if you could, just stick around till after the meeting, give your information to our town manager, who's taken down the information so far as you were speaking, but you can give him more details and he'll look into that for you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming to us this evening. And now moving on, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak to the council? Not seeing any. Moving on to communications from the council. Is there anyone with communications from the council? Not seeing any. Executive session. There is none, and item 18 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not hearing it? Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Enjoy.